What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to talk about some important data coming out for tomorrow you should be watching for as a Tesla trader and investor. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. The offer ends very soon in just 2 weeks from now. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. So, as far as Tesla is going, right now we're in a very, very nice uptrend, making higher highs and higher lows. We're holding above our key EMAs above the 20 and 50 EMAs very nicely. And overall, Tesla's doing a good job. I also want to mention that right now Tesla is very vertical in terms of its direction in the EMAs right now, and it's showing a lot of strength. But the question remains: will Tesla continue this run, or is something going to shift? I'll be talking more about this in just a couple of minutes. I first want to talk about some data and some news that's come out. So there's some good news and some not so good news that has come out for Tesla. The good news is that Tesla is bringing back the free supercharging for life for its Model S cars. I think that's a great piece of news, and this could be a very, very big incentive to get a lot more of those sales to go up. One thing that's worth mentioning is that the Model S and Model X sales have slowed down a bit in the US specifically, but when it comes to other variants, especially for like the Model Y, that still remains very strong to essentially offset that. So I would just want to make it very clear that Tesla has once again seen strong deliveries for the Model Y, which tends to offset this. But with Model 3 sales kind of slowing, at least to some extent for the past few quarters, I really believe that Tesla has to continue to do this. So, one thing that's worth mentioning is that for orders placed on or after December 13th, they're going to be qualifying for this. You have to purchase or lease a new Model S, which are eligible for free supercharging. I think that's very awesome. This is going to help their sales increase, if anything, but there is one catch to this. And that's this news right over here. There is some news coming out that Tesla's raising the prices of the Model S in the US by about $5,000. I didn't see the reason behind this, but this is going to be including the Model S base variants for all wheel drive. And then also for the performance plaid variant, which is going to be cost about $94,990. So all wheel drive is going to be about 80,000, and then 95,000 for the model plaid. That's going to be very, very huge. The Model S plaid, excuse me, guys. That's going to be very, very important for them. Do I think this is going to affect Tesla a whole lot? Possibly not way too much. Like I said before, the Model S sales are not that massive in the US, but if they qualify for these things, that's going to be very big. Now, there's another plan you guys could go for. So the first thing I want to mention is that when you go on their website, right, you guys can see the all-wheel drive is now at about $79,990, basically 80,000. This is for this particular variant. If you get the plaid, it's going to be about 95,000. But if you include an estimated 5-year gas savings plan, you're going to be saving about 6,500 on it. So then the price goes down to about 73,500, and the plaid goes down to about 88,500. So that's still an option. But if you do get them for the full price, free supercharging for life is still a very, very big benefit. That could save people a lot of money for years and years and years and years to come. So it's kind of like what really offsets this. I still think this could help their sales, at least to a large extent. And I think it's going to be fine for them, at least moving forward. So that's the next incentive that Tesla's coming out with. Hopefully, it helps their sales improve. And we'll see how things end up going towards the end of the year. For other pieces of news, just know that Goldman Sachs remains neutral on Tesla, so does Cantor Fitzgerald. However, there were other analysts that came out with their $400 price targets, especially like Fubon Securities a couple of days ago. So for now, there's still a lot of bullish analysts. The price price ratio is soaring for Tesla because Tesla's getting a lot of strength compared to the market. And then Mondays tend to be green about 53% of the time historically. We tend to see more volatility and more green at 11 o'clock a.m. and then 1 p.m. Historically. So watch those times for more volatility on Tesla. And besides that, I didn't see anything else that was too crazy on the news. Tesla's volume is currently at about 87 million, so not too bad. And then when it comes to more data, at least for the broader markets, just know this. Tomorrow is going to be Monday, December 16th, 2024. 15 minutes after the stock market opens at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Composite Manufacturing and Services PMI reports coming out. Then at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3 and 6 month bill auctions, so watch those very carefully. Make sure you guys watch this at 9:45. There might be some volatility for Tesla in the markets, so we'll have to see how things end up going. Besides this, I want to call out that we had some earnings, or we have some earnings coming out, at least for the week. Most things are quite minor. There's nothing too serious for the week. We do have like FedEx and Nike announcing them on Thursday, so I think that's going to be the most important day. Besides that, everything is going to be quite minor. Now, the fear and greed index is currently at neutral, stuck in the middle thus far. Greed is making up the majority of momentum, but it's not as greedy as before. We used to be at extreme greed. Now we're just at greed because we're technically getting a tiny bit closer to our 125 daily moving average. That's what this is based off of. So it shows that the market has been slowing down a bit for the last couple of days. The puts and call option ratio is going up just slightly, which shows us that there's been a bit more put buying than before. It's not like it's anything crazy, but there's a slight increase. And volatility for the VIX is just at neutral. So we're going to wait and see if that changes. Anyways, that is it for all of my data and everything like that. And now I just want to focus on the charts, nothing else. So, what do I see for Tesla moving forward? What is my prediction thus far? The answer is Tesla is very, very bullish. When we look at the 4 hour time frame, we're seeing a very nice accumulation so far, and we're just continuing to hold up. I think we're looking quite awesome. On top of this, I want to mention that the daily on Tesla is looking pretty good. Very strong looking daily close, which I think is quite awesome. And then the weekly, if you go all the way out towards the weekly chart, it's very bullish. So everything is looking very strong, technically speaking. Everything is very bullish. There's no sign of this slowing down thus far. Now, as far as how I see this going, okay, we're making higher highs and higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and we're just continuing to uptrend. I presume that Tesla will likely continue this trend, and I think it's looking very strong. However, just know this, there could be a test in the morning because when you look at the last couple of days, we have an interesting correlation. Tesla had a tendency of basically on Monday it dipped and then bounced. On Tuesday, we started off with a push, then we came down a little bit. Wednesday, we saw a dip in the morning, then we pushed towards close. Thursday, we had a flat day for Tesla, dipped a bit, then it started to bounce towards the after hours. Then Friday, it dipped and then bounced towards the end of the day. So we do like to push towards the ends of the day. This happened a lot on a Wednesday and then Friday and then also on Tuesday. So it makes me think that what's going to happen going into tomorrow is that Tesla might touch 440. It might be a tough resistance. We might not break it that easily. So I wouldn't be surprised if we return back down to this support into like the 430 area. We might retest this. And then as long as Tesla holds above 430 or it gets bought back up at a higher low, it will continue to push and start looking for a push towards the end of the day, making its way back up towards the 445 plus area. So it looks bullish to me, but there might be a small dip in the morning if we do end up testing 440 and we don't break past it immediately. So it might be doing something like this where we push to this 440 zone. We come down tomorrow just like this, retest our support right over here around 430. As long as we hold that, we just continue to soar as time goes on, going into like Tuesday and beyond for another push just like that. As long as Tesla does not lose its key support, it remains more bullish. So look at support at 430. As long as that holds, we could dip and then bounce and start looking for 440 to break. If that breaks, I'm going to be looking for the mid 440s like 445, then eventually 450 is our target as it remains more bullish. If we lose 430, look for this imbalance down here towards 424, and you actually have the levels right here. If that fails us, I'm looking for 420, and if that fails, we go all the way down towards support at 412, followed by a much bigger dip. However, like I said before, I am favoring that we pop to 440, come back down for a little bit of a retest of the support into the lower 430s. Then we should bounce and try to continue to push towards the end of the day. And we could be looking for new all-time highs above 440, getting us closer to the 450 area. That's the most likely case for Tesla looking at the chart. As far as SPY goes, however, we're just range bound. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, every time SPY is hitting 602 to 603, we're getting bought back up, bought back up, bought back up. But every time we were hitting resistance near 608, let me show you what I mean by that. We hit the 608s here, we rejected. We had 609 here, we rejected. We had 608, we rejected. We had 607-ish, and then we rejected. So we're just in a range on SPY. As we get close to 608, we reject. As we hit 602 to 603, we tend to bounce. Now, there's a very interesting trend on SPY where if you look at the last couple of days, for instance, starting with Monday, we saw a little bit of a dip. Tuesday, we popped and dipped. Going into Wednesday, we did pump because of CPI, only to dip again. Thursday, we pumped and then we dipped on Friday. So it's the same trend over and over again. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see an attempt to rebound in the morning as volume comes in to get close to 605. And we'll have to see if we break past this resistance or not. Right here where I'm pointing, you guys can see we had the 609 area as a high. We came down, made a lower high at 608. We came down, made a lower high at 607. So we're continuing to make lower highs, which makes me suspect the possibility of us coming down like this and making a move back down to 602. We'll have to see if 602 holds or not. If we hold this, we could attempt to rebound. If not, there could be a rejection to 600, then 598 below that. So it's very simple. If we hold above 605, we're looking for a 607 as our target. If we lose 602, however, look for 605.98 as our targets. Okay. So we're making lower highs on SPY, which makes me suspect there might be a pop in the morning, but we might make a lower high as we're making lower highs so far. So it might make a lower high, then dip back down, and there could be a retest of 602 coming. I am seeing some weakness that's starting to show on these charts. Look at ES. We had a high here, came down, made a lower high, came down, made a lower high over and over again. And we do have a reversal potential structure that's developing here. Kind of looks like an inverse cup and handle, kind of like that. But anyways, we have this demand zone right here around this 60-40 area. We have to hold this. Otherwise, we could be dipping to 60-20, then 6,000. I think we rebound for about 60-60 towards our 50 and 20 EMAs. And as we're making lower highs here, we could rebound and reject and start dipping for 60-40, then 60-20 as time goes on. So there could be a rebound and a rejection is the most likely case. Then we'll just have to see what kind of reaction we get. As far as, let me just double check this. As far as Nvidia goes, and I'll talk about the QQQ in just a minute, but I'm going to talk about these first. I'm seeing some weakness here. We do love to get bought back up specifically around 132. So it's possible Nvidia retest 135, but it might be sinking back down to 132. We'll have to see if we hold above 132. Otherwise, we're at risk of coming down towards 130. So break 135 and we're looking for 137. Lose one, reject off 135. If we start dipping, we're looking for 132 as the main supports. And if that fails us, we dip lower. This looks weaker as we're making lower highs on Nvidia. Look at the last couple of days. It's rejecting over and over again. So this could also kind of look like a head and shoulders that's forming, which makes me suspect there might be a rebound attempt for 135, but then we could be dipping back down towards 132 as the most likely possibility. So please keep that in mind. For other tickers, we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin's looking decent, trying to push out here. We're going to be looking for an attempt to get up to 105,000, but be careful because there's a slight bearish divergence developing. So it might hit 105,000 or so, then it could be coming back down to 101,000, which could slow Coinbase down. For NQ and the QQQ, I think NQ has a bearish divergence. It might be retesting 21,700, and we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get. If that fails us, we're going to be looking for a dip back down towards 21,600. So we have a bearish divergence. If this makes a lower high, it could be dipping for 21,700, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For the QQQ, same thing. There's a slight bearish divergence. Might be retesting 526.5. Might pop and then come down to 526. We have to see if we bounce off this support or not. So it might be coming down like this towards the support. Do we bounce and then push, or do we hit this, make a lower high, and then reject and start forming a head and shoulders? Look for a test of 526.5, and we'll see if it bounces or not. But there's going to be that risk of downside looking at the 4-hour. Also on the daily, although we had a decent close, I just want to call out that the daily chart is showing a little bit of contraction here. There's like a doji forming. So this could be forming a potential to dip back down to that gap. So we'll see about that. We'll see if we turn on the QQQ. It depends if we can hold 530 or not. Like I said before, I think we might dip to about 526.5 before anything else, and we'll see what happens. For Apple might be retesting 246.7 near the 20 EMA. We'll have to see if we bounce off that or not, but look for a small dip on Apple as the most likely possibility. Then we'll see what happens after that. For Netflix, I'm going to be looking at this very closely. I think I had a fib retracement chart I wanted to show you guys. So if you look at this from a Fibonacci retracement standpoint, you could draw it out like this. There could be an attempt to get back up to our 0.5 retracement area towards 925, and we'll have to see if we reject or not. But we'll be watching these levels very closely. So we could attempt to hit this resistance, and we'll see what kind of move we make. But otherwise, I think we're doing a pretty good job. For MSTR, I think that there might be a push for this 420 resistance. I think there's potential in this so long as we don't lose 400. This might be on its way for 420, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. So I see potential in this at least nonetheless. For Celsius, we're on a very, very nice uptrend so far. We're making higher highs and higher lows. As long as we don't lose 30.8, I think we favor a move back up closer to about this 33 area. So we'll just have to see how it goes. But 33 looks like a nice potential target, at least thus far. So we'll see. I think we're making higher highs and higher lows, and we're holding above our EMAs. So 33 looks like a nice target. For Supermicro, we could be dipping a little bit lower. If anything, we're making lower highs here. So I think we could be dipping closer to about this 32.3 area. So we could be dipping a little bit lower to 32, if not 30, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For Palantir, Palantir is looking more bullish. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders. There's this imbalance over here to the left, so we'll just have to see what kind of reaction we get off of this. With the nice inverse head and shoulders, we could be pushing for essentially 78, then 80. And then there's also like 82 above that. What I think is going to happen is we continue to shuffle like this and make our way up slowly to try to fill this imbalance, and this could be because of the inverse head and shoulders here. We might try to fill this imbalance that's all the way up here. But at the very least, I think 78s to 80s are very realistic targets, and I think we might be looking for that to be tested on Palantir, so it looks quite bullish to me. Rivian, this is looking decent as long as we don't lose 13.87. We favor a push for essentially 15. So if the market rebounds going into tomorrow, we'll have to see how long the move will last. But I think that this might attempt to push back up for that 15 area. For others out there, we have SoFi. We're trying to rebound here. Now, this is an attempt to break out. We'll have to see if this continues. Typically, this is a bullish sign, but just to be safe, what you want to see is if we do get some kind of dip, look for a back test of this, and you want to just bounce off that to continue this push. If the back test fails and we end up dipping back down into this channel, then we're going to just remain like this. That could also happen, but that's not a guarantee. So we'll see about that. I'm hoping that we do see some kind of like dip right here, and we'll see if we get some kind of bounce near like the 16 area, maybe a little bit below that. And that could be a little back test before it tries to continue. So hopefully this is a confirmed breakout. So we'll see. There is potential in SoFi, but just to be safe, I'll be watching to see if the setup remains. For the IWM Russell 2000, there could be a move back down to about 231. If that fails us, we're looking for 230. Then we'll see if we bounce off that or not, but there is a risk of a little bit more downside. For AMD, for those who are interested in stocks like this, there's going to be a risk of some more downside to this because 125 is very psychological. We haven't really gotten there yet. So with the lower highs that are being made, we could be on our way down to about the 125 area, and then 122 could be coming next. So look for 125 and we'll see if we bounce or not, and then give this the time it needs. For ARM, I just wanted to say we did a great job at hitting 155. Watch 150 is our main support. If that fails us, we could be dipping all the way down closer to about this 147.5 area, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. But I believe that there is a good chance that we could be dipping a little bit from here. There might be a retest of our key fib level around that 150 zone. If not a little bit below that, there's an imbalance very close to our 0.382 retracement area. That's close to 148 as well. So I think 150 to 148 could be retested. We'll see if we bounce or not. So watch for that very closely. For a few more, we have Coinbase. This is at risk of dipping. Bitcoin is holding up nicely, so that could have a big effect on this. If we get back above 320, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 330. And if we don't hold above 310, we're looking for that gap fill for essentially 303. So it could go either way. Technically, as of right now, it does look a bit more bearish, but this does tend to get impacted by Bitcoin sometimes. So we'll see if we come down to fill that gap and bounce. It does look a little bit more probable, technically speaking, but that depends on Bitcoin. Amazon's going to be retesting 226.75. We got to bounce off this. Otherwise, 225 is going to come, and we should try to bounce off one of those levels. But there is a risk of this dipping a little bit lower before it attempts to rebound off 225. So just keep that in mind. For Meta, we kind of have like a head and shoulders like structure. We could be dipping closer to about that. We're hitting like 622 as resistance. If we reject off that, I think we could push for 622 to 625. Then we could reject afterwards. And there might be a dip towards 615, then 609 as potential targets. For Microsoft, we could be retesting essentially 446. If that fails us, we're looking for essentially this imbalance fill for about 444 and then 442. So there's a left shoulder here. There's a head up here, then a right shoulder. We could pop and then start dipping for about 446. If that fails us, we're looking for 444. For Google's on a bit of a downtrend right here. We could be looking for essentially 190, then 188.9 as our potential targets. If we dip here, we'll have to see if we bounce or not. But I do see a risk of us dipping lower towards the 189 area. So give that some more time to develop. For GME, there's going to be a risk of us coming down to this imbalance, taking us back down towards the 27s. It's very tight right now, not really doing much, but just keep that in mind. There's going to be a risk of that. For AMC, we could be on our way down to the lower 14s, not 14s, sorry, four flats. Lower fours could be coming. DJT, I could be looking for a test of 35.17. We'll see if we bounce off that or not. So look for a small dip by 0.9 points or so. The VIX could go either way. It's very indecisive, so we're going to be waiting. I think it's mainly waiting for like FOMC on Wednesday. It's going to have a bigger effect on this. The 10-year is also going to be affected by that. It's looking bullish for now for about 4.5. And the dollar might dip a little bit for about 106.8, which is why I think there's going to be a small bounce in the morning. But if this uptrend remains, if we do see a dip like this, maybe the market bounces a bit. But then if this starts to remain bullish, that could be bearish for the stock market, right? That could signify that the market has some downside potential. So we'll see about that, guys, just to be safe. Anyways, that is it for my video. We'll have to see how well the dollar holds up. My view of the market is quite simple. Look for a rebound in the morning, and then there could be a small dip coming, even like for Tesla. But as long as we hold above 430, I think that Tesla has the potential to continue this uptrend. It looks very bullish thus far. I think that the news might not affect it too much, hopefully. So I still remain bullish on the share price. If we do get some kind of retest of the previous resistance becoming support, we could continue this uptrend for the 440s to break all-time highs. Tesla's very strong, looks very bullish to me, and there's no sign of it reversing yet unless we get a bad piece of news tomorrow morning. I don't see that so far, so I do favor the upside for now. Thank you for listening. Have a good rest of your day, and peace out.